What do ogres, halflings, really bad microtransactions, and space all have in common? Oh yeah, and maybe some like creepy alien creatures. They're all in this video and I have no idea how to make a hook that's really like interesting. So let's just get into it because I have a lot of MMO news to cover, which is a nice thing for once, and I want to not waste your time. And as always, there are timestamps down below so you can jump to the stories that you care about most, and I appreciate you for watching. Thank you so much. Let's get into it. It's not every day that one of the largest MMOs comes out and says that they have messed up.
Our MTX approach is harming Runescape, and it's time that we took action.
But that's exactly what Jagex has come out and said in a recent blog post and video about the future of microtransactions in RuneScape. RuneScape has bounced around headlines for a while now for being pretty damn aggressive with their microtransactions, earning the ire of many players and even making some like myself adverse to even jumping into either game, even though the issue with microtransactions is basically about RuneScape, not old school RuneScape. But we have this big blog post talking about how they've messed up and how they're basically looking at like, yeah, we're being kind of terrible about this. And I mean, there's a lot of corporate speak with all of it, but there's some eye-popping stats in the blog post. Like that of players who responded to surveys, 60% of ex-players felt that microtransactions detracted from their experience. 42% of total responders felt microtransactions detracted from their experience. And I'll point out that this is people that actually responded to the surveys. People that were just done with the game and didn't care to leave a survey probably didn't even answer them. They were just, I hate this, I'm done, bye, you lost me.
Today, MTX and RuneScape is a major part of how we fund the game. Despite the continual community feedback out there in the world, whether on Reddit, on a survey, or at RuneFest, we've been tentative to take action because of that reality. And that change now comes with real risk. But it's time to be brave. Because frankly, sticking to the path we're on also represents real risk to this game, both in its ability to have a growing community and to how it sustains itself. We're now on a mission to rejuvenate RS3's future with a firm focus on game integrity. That means thinking about the ways that we monetize, how the game looks, the broader player experience, and our approach to producing grade A content.
So how are they going to be fixing this? Well, they're running experiments, in-game experiments. Essentially, they'll be running these timed in-game experiments to see what works and what doesn't work when it comes to microtransactions, gauging the reception from the community and how much money they make. In layman's terms, can we make enough money while not pissing people off too much? Just to kind of cut through the bullshit a little bit. The first experiment is coming in July and it tackles one of the more controversial microtransactions that they have, Treasure Hunter, turning it off completely. And I think many people will be very happy about this, so that's good that they're doing that. In August, they'll try disabling skilling dummies during a double experience event, and finally in September, they're going to dump a heap of cosmetics into the store, including some previously only available during Treasure Hunter. On the cosmetics front, they'll also be doing a longer test of cosmetic-free worlds. And being around plenty of older games, I can see something like this cosmetic-free world, being a very, very popular thing. Something, I don't even want to say it, but something they could monetize.
Okay, it's $500, you have no choice of carrier, the battery can't hold a charge, and the reception isn't very—
Shut up and take my money!
If you remember EverQuest, there was these boots called Golden Ifriti boots. They were the only boots that had a plate golden exterior. And so everyone knew if you had those boots, that you had earned them. And so that's kind of why I think something like this is appealing to a lot of people that over time have gotten kind of tired of all this bloat in cosmetics. Cosmetics is kind of like this weird necessary evil in a lot of ways of like, well, it's a monetization that's not necessarily pay to win, but at the same time, it distorts the game when everyone has all these really conflicting visual attires that don't have any basis in the game and are just more about if you opened your wallet or not. The thing is, I think these are also limited to games that don't start with this. I don't think these type of things would matter at all in a game like Final Fantasy XIV or Guild Wars 2. The overall sentiment I got from the blog post and the video is that they're looking at old school RuneScape and seeing all of its success, and then looking at RuneScape 3 being burdened by overly aggressive monetization and potentially wanting to change that. But there's always a big but. There was enough language used about funding the game that makes me think this might end up being more nibbling around the edges of their most egregious things rather than some wholesale changes. I do hope I'm wrong. But I do also want to give credit where credit is due, because it is important for gaming as a whole to see some of the more egregious microtransactions and pseudo gambling mechanics clawed back. So kudos to RuneScape for recognizing that they have created a problem and seeing how can they fix this and kind of course correct with RuneScape, with the current version of RuneScape, while also not trying to like put a bunch of this stuff on old school RuneScape and just kind of keep it going. There is some irony in this though, the current CEO Mod North talking about being brave in this video, about being brave while decidedly being fairly cowardly with recent decisions around celebrating their community in an inclusive way. But hey, at least maybe now they'll charge you less. Maybe, possibly, they're still being experimented on. But if this is something that they actually do, if they can make RuneScape 3 a game that doesn't feel like you have to pay to play it, I'd definitely give it a try. I don't know about you, but I would. From giant classic MMO to small indie MMO, that's had about as rough a go as you can. Ember's Adrift has now officially launched on Steam after they had to pivot following a payment provider debacle that left Ember's Adrift without months of payments and no way to collect any funds. With this launch on Steam, the game is currently on sale for 50% off, selling for $14.99. The old school PvE MMO is essentially buy to play with an optional subscription that helps to keep the game going. Even though they've had next to no income coming in for months, the team behind Embers has continued to work on the game, and they have added in new features for the Steam launch that include an auction house, group summons, a crafting overhaul, item set bonuses, new raid bosses and loot, compass, a new zone called Abaxis, which brings with it several level 50 plus raid encounters, and a small to large group content and quests, and a new crafting profession called artificing to help adjust stats on gear. And just look at these cute little chaos hunters. Don't you just want to give them just a little hug? Ember's Adrift has gone through several refinements and changes since its launch a few years ago. It's still a very group-focused game, something that, quite honestly, has come to be a bit of an Achilles heel as its population has dwindled. But they've made some changes to allow for more solo ability in recent years, adding in some solo loops for some of their dungeons and repeatable quests, but the heart of this game still remains its group focus. I'm not gonna sit here and sugarcoat the player numbers. They're not great. This game is struggling to maintain players, I think in part because when you have a group focused game like this, it's difficult when you are unable to do the content that requires a group if there's not enough people. I guess that's kind of why a lot of these games end up going to becoming soloable games, because it works. But the thing is, if you're looking for a classic MMO, a challenging group-focused MMO, this game right now, being on sale for 50%, being able to jump in and try and play it, is probably one of the best times you'll be able to get that opportunity to go in and see what the game is like and see if it fits with you. If you like that tab target group-focused combat, and just jump in and see if you enjoy it. The community that still remains with this game have created strong bonds. They have gone through a lot with this developer over the years, making a small but tight-knit guild-like atmosphere of the server as a whole. And yes, it has a single server, so everyone is going to be together on one place. Stormhaven Studios, through several trials and tribulations, has done right by their community. The game won't be for everyone, and it may not even be for you. I personally had fun when I played. There were some things I didn't like as much. The setting didn't always resonate with me, and it was pretty, in a lot of ways, some of it was pretty slow, but I did manage to have some fun with it. It is built in Unity. It's got a realistic kind of like look to it. The lighting system is fantastic. and it's got some creepy shit in it. Like I got jump scared quite a bit by things, but I wish Stormhaven Studios all the best. They've had a rough go of it. But keeping on that old school indie track, that group focused type game, the EverQuest type game. Do you remember Evercraft Online? The EverQuest game that looked a whole lot like Minecraft. Well, they have rebranded to Adrullan Online, perhaps to avoid the constant confusion players had that they couldn't dig down to the core of the earth and fight ender dragons. And they're having one of their first 10 since their rebrand on July 11th, 2025. These tests always bring out a lot of people who are craving the classic MMO feel, and they tend to end these tests with fun little community events. I'll personally be trying to jump in again and just see all that they've done since the last time I played, and from their announcement, it sounds like quite a lot. They've balanced their combat to make difficulty adjustments for more engaging encounters, which reading that right now just sounds like I'm gonna die a lot. So I think when I play with my friend BB, I'm just gonna send him to attack first. I think that's everyone needs a BB to send at the dragons, I think. They've also changed class progression to create more satisfying ability spending as you level and more meaningful stats with mechanical effects, as well as UI improvements. They've also expanded Willowbrook, which is new content for halflings, which I didn't even know they had halflings in yet. So this is exciting for me because I freaking love halflings. I've got a tattoo of Samwise Gamgee on my leg. I love halflings and hobbits. I think I was one in a past life. There'll be new camps and creatures and new quests and secrets to discover within the game. And with this test, the available races and starting locations will be the human area of Leont or Greenwood Cover, halflings, which we just mentioned, will be starting in Willowbrook. Ogres will be in the stronghold of Osgul, which is one of the coolest looking zones that I've seen in one of these MMOs. Half-elves will be in the game, but they're going to be a nomadic race that's only kind of partially realized, and they're going to be treated as humans in the game. Ashkin and Dryad are going to be in-game, but they're just kind of are there visually as visual variants, but they will also be treated as humans for this test. But you know what? Instead of just me talking about the game and how it's basically just like it plays like EverQuest with these type of Minecraft graphics, how about I show you what it looks like and sounds like? I also have it on good authority that there might be something else not yet announced in the test that might be making it in. So keep your eyes peeled on that Discord of theirs, because that's where you'll see information on the test itself and that little secret little thing that might be coming soon. Honestly, if you enjoyed EverQuest, if you enjoy Ember's Adrift, if you enjoy Pantheon Rise of the Fallen or Monsters and Memories, I think you will also enjoy this game. Now, if you don't like the graphic style, I totally get that. One of the things that I think this game can do is it can appeal to a generation that maybe grew up on Minecraft, but didn't grow up on EverQuest. And I think that this game has a very special place in the MMO space to kind of maybe bring some people in that may have never experienced EverQuest before, while also serving people that do like EverQuest or games like it, and like treating you to a new world, very familiar environs. So go and play it. It's free. The test is free. Why not? Just if you have time, go play it. And if you're wandering around and you see me or my corpse, feel free to say hello. I don't think I could jump more drastically from Adrullan Online and Ember's Adrift to our next game if I tried. Chrono Odyssey.
Try as I might to quell their advance. 'Twas all for naught.
Cosmic horror fantasy action RPG where you can decapitate your enemies in the mold of New World and Bless Online, built in Unreal Engine 5. And the part that may make it so different from these games may be that Adrullan Online and Ember's Adrift have better networking and less lag, even at this stage. Chrono Odyssey finally unveiled their game with a big weekend closed beta test, and to put it mildly, the results were mixed. The game suffered from two major issues. First, it had significant lag issues the entire test, and second, it doesn't look remotely like the flashy trailers they've showed off, looking a whole lot more like Ash's creation than the beautiful flowing grasp and crisp fidelity we've seen in the trailers. There's a caveat here that the build we played was reportedly about a year old. Since the test, we've heard from Chrono Odyssey team stating that they'll be focusing on improvements to key gameplay elements such as movement controls, animations, combat responsiveness, all to refine it and make it a more polished experience. And that sounds great because having played it for about 15 hours over that test, polish is absolutely the thing that they need most. Well, polish and stability. Performance and system stability are undergoing an in-depth review with a commitment to fix them. What's more, the CEO and founder of Chrono Studio, Banggun Bae, has a lengthy post on June 25th talking about the test and feedback, saying, quote, "After the 3-day CBT ended, I spent a great deal of time monitoring every live stream on Twitch and YouTube. On the final day in particular, I stayed up for nearly 24 hours straight, watching player reactions and feedback in real time. Together with our directors and our vice president, we had many deep and thoughtful discussions. We are truly wholeheartedly committed to this game. Please look forward to upcoming videos, developer notes, and future announcements. With new elements to be tested in the second CBT, our team is already bracing for another intense and fast-paced period of development. I'm personally doing my best to respond to as many messages as I can, because as the person ultimately responsible for this project, it's my duty to face all feedback head on. Once again, thank you sincerely. We've taken in all of your thoughts with open minds, and we promise to return with a thoroughly improved experience." Not bad, honestly, just like, not bad. I mean, it's still like, talk is great, but then you actually have to follow it up with action, but not bad talk. We don't have dates for a second CBT just yet, but I hope they give it some more time to get a much newer build ready to go so players can actually see and play and feel the progress. I'll be doing a larger video on Chrono Odyssey in the future, but what I came away with was an appreciation for the world building and lore most of all. It's a setting that is probably closer to a more fantasy version of Secret World than anything else I've played in the MMO space, and I really, really want to explore that cosmic horror. There was a significant amount of fun, but it was deeply, deeply marred by lack of polish and performance issues. Keep an eye out for that second closed beta test though, and make sure if you're interested in this game that you have opted in on Steam if you want to check this game out and see if it truly has made progress since this year-old build. Now this next MMO on our news list, I actually wasn't expecting to come out with any news, and I came away more excited about it than I thought I would. Project Ghost, or Ghost MMO. the one being made by Greg Street, Ghostcrawler. Greg Street left Riot to go make this MMO, and while we're nowhere close to getting to jump in and test Ghost the way we are with Chrono Odyssey or Adrullan Online, they showed some in-engine footage of their recently legally distinct Wrath Paladin, the Dreamblade, a plate-wearing two-handed weapon damage dealer. This is where we get to see a little bit of their approach to combat, with a limited action set as well as a very early look at playing them in-game with the standard disclaimer that basically all of it is placeholder or unfinished, so the roughness, even things as simple as the icons and the UI, are not final. Not that that'll stop people from saying that it looks like shit. We're kind of predictable. But honestly, the animations and the VFX, more so the animations, although obviously still not finished and still kind of in a rough state, I thought they kind of looked pretty good. Maybe I'm crazy, but I did kind of think they looked kind of good despite some of the lag in the stream. Specifically the sword animations with the big exaggerated swings. Maybe I'm just a huge fan of Berserk. This was part of an hour-long stream that showed off quite a bit. I was really happy to hear that they're trying to pull your eyes to your character with visual effects like stuff on your sword and stuff like that, rather than watching your cooldowns on your action bar. It'll be a holy trinity tab target MMORPG with a slight wrinkle of having the ability to do something called soft targeting. Kind of tab targeting by moving your view instead of, well, pressing tab. So what you're looking at becomes your target. And just to be clear, you can also just do tab targeting. These are options that you have. If you're unfamiliar with the Ghost MMO, it's broken up around this idea of blue zones and red zones. Blue zones are procedurally generated but have what they're calling a recipe to give them some semblance of handcrafted feel, even though they're procedurally generated. These are big zones, but they're also private instances for you and a small party to go and fight in. Red zones, on the other hand, are developer-created handcrafted regions that are more in line with what you'd expect in a big open MMORPG, and they are not private. In a recent blog post, Greg Street talked about how they're trying to make the game feel balanced so players feel that there are reasons to go to both blue and red zones. Now I'll admit, when I first heard about these, I was kind of thinking of Ghost more in line with Vindictus, like some kind of lobby-based MMO, and I was pretty disappointed. But it's actually sounding a bit better than that, at least I hope. I want to see more. I want to see how much is done with red zones compared to blue zones, and how many there are, and if it still feels like a world, especially if like you'll be able to do the same kind of activities in red zones, like combat in red zones as in blue zones. If you'll have handcrafted places to go and engage with the game instead of just repeating these procedurally generated zones over and over again. Basically just not like make it like a lobby, like here your red zone is a city and then your blue zones are where you go and play the game. You know what I mean? But in general, this stream bumped Ghost up my list of games I'm interested in for sure for several reasons, especially with how much time in the QA they spent talking up the importance of grouping and class interdependence.
We have a question from Twitch that sits near and dear to my heart as a healer main. What is the thought process around creating support classes or healers? Is it okay in your view to have a class that's not effective or kind of ineffective alone, but is a really powerful force multiplier in a group?
Well,
I
think
with that.
Yeah, we're having a lot of class variety. I think there is value. There is value to that. I think it's going to ultimately come down to how we develop our progression system and how much of that is shared across your characters or a specific character. But certainly, if you have a lot of classes, I think it's a lot easier to say, yeah, this class plays a little bit better by itself out in the world, or this class really is reliant on other people to succeed. But one of the things with our roles, and for the reason that we played the game with a full group today, was we want those roles to really have kind of importance and have you depend on each other. So it's really, it would be hard for us to have done what we just did without a healer, right? Healers are here to restore our health bars when we take damage. Tanks are here to reduce the amount of damage we take. And melee and range DPS are here to kill things very quickly so that the healers and the tanks don't run out of gas before the encounter is over. So sort of answer that question is we do want it to be really like healers will have a basic damage rotation, so they can kill a monster a small monster that's attacking them all by themselves. But it's not. But our game is intended to be played with groups when you're doing very difficult group content, and to have this reliance on each other, this kind of need to have your friend with you to help provide kind of just this value to other people, just kind of by the choices you make about the classes and the roles that you're playing. So there will be a broad diversity of content, but I think when we talk about doing hard things in Ghost, you're going to need a group.
Yeah.
I will let you solo, but you'll probably spend more time in a group than you do in a lot of MMOs.
That's the fun part of MMOs for me, is getting to play with people. Some of the best friends I've made in my life, I've made through playing MMOs online. And that's the kind of social connection that I want to bring forward with Ghost for other people, right? Those are really, really powerful moments.
It sounds like it'll be a game with options, including solo options, but difficult things will require a group, and your group will need to be built around a holy trinity. As Greg Street puts it, you'll be able to solo, but you'll probably spend a lot more time in groups than you do in other MMOs. Is that a knock at World of Warcraft? I don't know. I don't know if it's a knock at World of Warcraft. Could be, given his history. The last update is a quick update, but it's actually kind of an important one, especially if you, like me, are watching Stars Reach, the game being made by Raf Koster. Stars Reach is still in pre-release, and it isn't yet in 24-hour testing, but they're making a major move forward starting in July by moving to a 14-hour playtest. This is a big jump forward than their shortest 4-hour-ish tests, and it'll be another step forward in seeing how the game plays when players are able to exist in it for longer and the servers are up for longer. Basically, does every planet become a honeycomb of just all the places where stuff has been taken out, and how does the game actually work when it has some time to kind of do its mechanics of growing and decaying? That's what I really want to see, how it goes as it actually lasts for longer. In addition to this longer test, they've added in their first passive, a taming system, which is admittedly basic. It doesn't use skill points yet, and tame creatures actually won't fight for you, but they will follow you around like a little lost puppy, or I guess in this case, not really a lost puppy. Oh yeah, and if you attack your pet that you spend so much time and love becoming friends with, well, they'll get pissed and attack you back. It's probably a good thing. It's not complete, but if you played Star Wars Galaxies or Ultima Online, you know that a Raf Koster game had to have taming in it. Even if right now it's more of an Easter egg and less of a full-on feature at this point. We had some other news, some not fun news to talk about, but it deserved its own video. So if you want to find out more about how, well, Daybreak or EverQuest is suing an emulator server, a specific emulator server, the Hero's Journey, you can find that out in this video right here. It's a tough situation, I'll just put it that way, but I tried to cover it to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much.